All right, ladies and gentlemen, so today we're going to be looking at lesson 11, last new material for this chapter. But anyway, we're talking about domain and range. And domain are all of your x values, range are all of your y values. And I'm going to add in here that we're going to write these in interval notation. So I want to know, what are all the possible x values, what are all the possible y values, is what it's really asking for. So when I look over here for this first graph, we have dots at the end. It's not a line, right? Lines mean it's going to be continuing. Lines are telling you, or arrows, sorry. Arrows are telling you that it's going to continue. Arrows are also indicating that you need to be going to infinity or negative infinity, depending on what the situation is. But here, so I'm going to look at my x values first. So here's the farthest point to the left, and I want its x value. And here's the farthest point to the right, and I need its x value. Because x's can be anywhere in between those two numbers. So this is negative 1, 2, 3, so negative 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And we put those in closed brackets because they have the dots. Okay. For your range, you're going to look at your y value. So my highest y is right here. My lowest y is right here. So that goes, we always do lowest first, then highest. So that's negative 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3. All right, then I want to know, is it a function? Yes. How do I know? It passes the vertical line test. Okay, next one. So domain. So for this one, for my x values, the arrows are telling me that it's going to keep going in both directions. So in this case, my domain is going to be negative infinity to infinity. Right? It has to be that because it's going to keep going in both directions. Range, well, it's a horizontal line. My range is going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Because that's the only thing that it can be. So there isn't even any two numbers there. It's just the one number. Right? It has to be 3. That's it. Is it a function? Yes. It passes the vertical line test. All right, so let's take a look over here. So for the domain for number 3, I start off, there's my very first point. That's my farthest to the left point. But then I have an arrow. So that's telling me, if I'm looking at my x values, right, and then it's going to keep going, I have to go from 0 to infinity. All right, for my range, right, my range is going to be my y's. Well, again, here's my lowest y. And then my arrow is going to tell me, so I'm going again for this one, 0 to infinity. Is it a function? Yes. Passes the vertical line test. Okay, let's look over here. So for number 4, right, I need my domain first. I'm looking at my farthest to the left, farthest to the right. So my arrows tell me I'm going to keep going for the farthest to the left and the farthest to the right. So this is going to be, oops, sorry, it should be soft brackets. So it should be negative infinity to infinity. All right, now my range. I need my highest and my lowest, right? So my lowest points, right, the arrows again keep going down, so that's going to tell me that my y's are going to keep going down. My highest point is right up here. So that means I'm going from negative infinity to 2. Is it a function? Yes. I'm just going to write vertical line test. All right, so number 5 is very similar to number 4. So when I look at my domain, right, I have my arrows, which means it's going to keep going on the x. So negative infinity to infinity. For my y's, right, it's going to be actually the same thing as over here. Here's my highest y point, but then the arrows are telling me that I can keep going down. So that's going to be negative infinity to 2. Function, yes, vertical line test. All right, over here, this one's a little bit different. So when I look at my domain, my x values, here's my farthest point, and it's not an arrow, it's not going to keep going. To the right, I have an arrow, so that means this is going to keep going towards positive infinity. So this is at negative 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's going to go to positive infinity. My range, all right, so now remember I need the highest and the lowest. So the highest is right up here. There's the highest. The lowest, because of this arrow, tells me that I'm going to keep going down as well. So my range, we do lowest to highest, so negative infinity to positive 2. So we have 3 different functions that have the same range, but they obviously look very, very different. Is it a function? Yes. Passes the vertical line test. Okay, so let's see. Do we have any more examples? Yeah, we'll do a couple more. So number 7. Right, so first thing I need is my farthest to the left, farthest to the right. I don't have any arrows, so I know it's not going to be infinities. So this is going to be negative 2, and this is over at 1, 2, 3, 4. For my range, I need highest and lowest. Here's your highest point. Here's your lowest point. So we're going to have to approximate that one, and that's okay. So the lowest is going to be at approximately negative 2.5. And it's going to go up to 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it a function? Yes. Vertical line test. All right, domain for this one. So I have to go furthest to the left, furthest to the right. So furthest to the left is over here. Furthest to the right is over here. So that's negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And positive 1, 2, 3. And for my range, I need the highest, which is up here, and the lowest. So the lowest comes first. That's negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the highest is 2. Is it a function? No. Doesn't pass vertical line test. All right, I actually want to do number 11 with you, and then I'm going to have you try 9 and 10 on your own. So when I take a look at this one's a little different because we have this big open space in here where I don't have any values. So when I do my range, it's kind of like my domain and range. I have to take that into consideration. So my range, my domain, here's an arrow though, right? So I know it's going to keep going in that direction. I know it's going to keep going to the right. But what happens is that between negative 1 and 1, there are no values. So we're going to have 2 sets for this, a lot like when we do our increasing, decreasing, positive, negative things. So this is going to be from negative infinity, oh Lord, that should be a soft, to negative 1. Now it's never going to actually touch the negative 1, so that's going to be a soft bracket. And then it's going to go from 1 to positive infinity. All right, same idea with my range. Because in my range, right, my highest is going to keep going up, my lowest is going to keep going down. But between this value and this value, I'm not going to have any. So it's going to be basically what it was for your range, or for your domain, sorry. So negative infinity to negative 1, and 1 to positive infinity. Is it a function? Yes, it passes the vertical line test. So I want you guys to try 9 and 10. All right, so do this one, and then we'll go over the answers in class tomorrow. Any questions? Bring them. Have a good night.